Okay, relatively quick one. Firstly, to say my last video has been blocked on the premise of being a copyright infringement because Formula One own the TV coverage of Crashgate, and so therefore me demonstrating the crime, they want to block the demonstration of what actually took place. Now I am going to appeal that on the grounds that you can't conceal somebody going through that, analysing the truth about the situation and claiming copyright. You're claiming copyright on a crime that you were party to, and I'm exposing your crime. So no, it doesn't. Comply with your version of copyright. So that's that particular one. Now, the situation with that video, it had 288 views, 19 comments, and as is typical from this channel, 30 likes, but one dislike. There's always people that has to come to my channel to hit the dislike because they like Max Verstappen. Okay, they really like Max Verstappen, and they're upholding Max Verstappen's honour by coming here to argue and contest because they really like Max Verstappen. They don't care about justice. Now, this is something that's really quite important that hopefully some of you are going to find useful. It is the actual document that is available for you all. I'm going to put the link to this in the into the description box of this video. Point 224. Okay, this is the actual notes by Mr. Justice J that are published for us all to see. And I am going to have to do a video where I go through this and expose to you the bullshit. Okay, this is legal for you. This is British legal. By design, it is designed to confuse, to gaslight, to disorientate, to wear the layperson down, using terms that people aren't familiar with, to question the difference between right and wrong, to question even whether people do have a responsibility or not. It could be argued that it could be this or it could be not. All of it is utter bullshit. And what you have is two teams of lawyers that are presented experts that will argue for their client on the grounds of, oh, it's not the FIA's responsibility to investigate a team doing something wrong. We don't think the wording of the regulations would say that it's the FIA's responsibility to do that. You can interpret that it's not the FIA's responsibility to uphold the integrity of the sport, is what is presented by Quest, a UK judge. And then you get the other side, which will claim that it is, and you've got all the magical words, and you have a cunt judge that entertains the facade and then writes an article like this to then gaslight people and pretend that the law is oh so complex and these are all the considerations that he's having to consider under the law. And so I'm going to have to do a video about this, and it's going to take a lot of time breaking this down. And I realise that most people don't have the ability to watch it because it's all about attention span. They know this. They know that a lot of people lack an attention span. They know that a lot of people will look at certain words, not understand those words, and then will switch off. It's all done by design. The British legal system to gaslight, to manipulate. And you have operatives within that system that will happily take money to argue for anybody. This is sold to us under the banner of the justice system because His Majesty's Courts and Tribunals Service falls under the Ministry of Justice. Now, the simplicity of justice is the difference between right and wrong within the context of a given situation. And what is right and wrong in that context? And it's quite easy to work that out. But what you have is you have people arguing for a party to absolve them of consequence for their wrongdoing, their failures. But they'll do that for money. And there's always a cunt judge. This one here. This is the costumes that the cunt judge wears. because it makes it all official, everybody. Yes, we wear the lovely shoes, and the tights. Yes, because I'm a judge. I'm Mr. Justice, and I wear tights and shoes. It's all part of the and we have this the cut it the we've cut that like like you wear a nice costume. Oh, lovely cut, it's a lovely cut silk, and we wear the capes and the robes and the wig, and that demonstrates just how magnificent the emperor's new clothes are, and just how intelligent this man is, that he can write a cunt report like this one. So I am gonna go through that, but I realise that many people aren't going to be able to stay with me through that. Mr. Justice, Jay. And, cunt boy here, he'll argue that it could be argued that the wording of the FIA's own statutes and regulations don't say that the FIA have a duty to investigate a team cheating in Formula One. And that's one of the things that we are here to actually argue about in this legal facade of Formula One. And we don't know what's right or wrong here in this legal facade. And they're all experts. They're all experts. I mean, you can have a look here at the expertise with who they are, and then we've got all the King's Council. We've got Nick DeMarco, Kendra Potts, Rowan Stennett, and all these people. Yeah, Annalise Day, David Quest, and William Day, and John Merzad. All of them are the best barrister you've ever seen, the best you've ever seen. They're all in the top 500 of the best, and their resume is, oh, this guy is fantastic, this girl is fantastic, so clever, so intelligent. Oh, they're incredible people. None of them got any integrity. They'll try and argue the meaning of a word rather than look at the entire situation and acknowledge that somebody has committed a crime and that somebody is being fraudulent and people have been harmed as a result of that. But no, they'll take the money to argue legally, because that's what lawyers do. They'll argue about a hole in the ground until the money dries up. That's what lawyers do. They don't care about who is impacted by a situation. Okay, all they care about is creating a bullshit argument for their client. Bullshit arguments in this one. Do the FIA indeed have a responsibility to investigate cheating in their sport? And if they have a responsibility, who is that responsibility to? Is it just to their members? Is Felipe Massa a member? So therefore, do they have a responsibility to feed Felipe Massa? This is the lawyers that want to fucking argue. Cunts. Every single last one of them, cunts. You see, law here is a tool of manipulation. We're all expected to be law-abiding citizens. We're all expected to comply with a set of do's and don'ts in life. This is how you conduct yourself. If you step outside of that, there's a consequence. The same with any organisation. This is what your organisation's about. This is what you then must be accountable to. And if you step outside of that, there's a consequence. But when they do step outside of that, there's always a lawyer willing to go, oh, well, we could argue that they're allowed to step outside of that. We'll now have a 3-year argument to decide. And the lawyer gets the millions out of it. Yeah, they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. And this is the profession of legal, right? You've got an entire profession here where at least 50% of the operatives within a justice system are cunts. Categoric cunts. Because they're willing to argue for a party that is clearly wrong. Because in the context of any given situation, there is a difference between right and wrong. In more cases than not, it is clearly identifiable that there is a clear right and a clear wrong in this situation, but you'll always have somebody willing to argue for those that are clearly in the wrong. So you have a justice profession where 50%, at least 50% of the operatives are cunts because they don't care about justice. They just will happily take the money to absolve their client, the perpetrator, of consequence for their actions. And we call this the legal profession. Now, who would invent such a cunt system like that? Who would invent such a cunt system? Well, I'll tell you who would invent it. Those who actually invent, those who benefit from it. Who benefits from it? Oh, those who rule. Those who rule that don't want to be held accountable to their tyranny. They want to hold us accountable to rules, but they don't want to be held accountable to it. Oh, they'll invent a system that works this way, because then it can be manipulated to absolve them of consequence. Oh, under this version of law, under this interpretation, yeah, you're okay. But under a different interpretation, them over there, they're not okay. They get punished for that. But under this interpretation, you don't. Who doesn't? Oh, those with wealth, those with power. Oh, they can buy somebody to argue a certain version of so-called law. And Cunt Boy here, in his costume here, Cunt Boy in his fucking shoes and his fucking tights and his little fucking jaggedy cut garment there. Yeah. Oh, the man of integrity. Yes. Yes, I've been promoted to the silk. On what grounds? What are your judge qualifications? Are you qualified? Do you know anything about the sport of Formula One? Do you know about integrity? Do you know the track record of the FIA? Do you understand sporting fairness? What's your expertise? Oh, jurisprudence. We need to understand. We need to understand even what is the law, and what constitutes the difference between right and wrong. That's all up for debate, isn't it? With jurisprudence, we need to consider ethically what societies are willing to accept as being right and wrong, and that can differ from different regions of the world depending on cultural differences. And cunt, 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 cunt. Yes, yes, yes. That's what we have. Cunts. Right? That's the British legal system. And this is another judge acting as a barrister in this one. This lad here. And it's doing this to me again. David Quest. Oh, yes, yes. Well, you see, according to the law, the version of law that I would like to try to absolve my client of consequence for their crime of fraud. Yes, well, actually, is it their responsibility to investigate any cheating in their sport? And if it is, then who is that responsibility owed to? We don't know. Maybe the law says that it doesn't. They don't have a responsibility, and therefore, see, cunts. But I will go through that document. I'm going to leave a link to the document here. That's going to be a long video. I'm probably going to have to break it down. I mean, there are very simple things, but they don't want to. They don't want to make it simple, and I'll make it simple for everybody. Because life is quite simple. There's right and there's wrong. Now, there's sometimes mitigating circumstances, but ultimately there's still right and there's wrong. And if you are a global sports governing body, then you can just get general ideas of what those responsibilities of those general of these global sporting bodies are. So understanding the legal responsibilities of sports governing bodies. Sports governing bodies have a broad and complex set of legal responsibilities aimed at complex. Oh, don't you worry your little head. No, worry your little head. It's quite easy. They are required. Okay. Now, this idea of legal means, oh, can we argue whether or not they're required? They are required, and we'll bring in other aspects of law to demonstrate and prove this, okay? It doesn't prove it, it's only your opinion. Ah, wankers. Anyway, sports governing bodies have a broad and complex set of legal responsibilities aimed at maintaining integrity. What is life without integrity? What is sport without integrity? You have to maintain integrity. You have to maintain safety and fairness within their sport. These responsibility is what you have a responsibility to do, yeah, are tasked with. You are the people that are required to do that. You are the governing body, yeah, include ensuring compliance with contract law, anti-doping rules, and anti-discrimination statutes. Oh, but did they do that back in that year? Yeah, that's always been the case. Now, here are the other elements of law that this is grounded on. You have the notion of competition law. That has to be fair for competition law, but that's just a minor one at this stage, even though it's actually a major one. You have the idea of contract law when it comes to sales, selling. You sell a product. The FIA are the governing body of a product that is sold to the world. Now, if that product isn't authentic, you are in breach of contract law, of buying and selling stuff. So, if you are selling something that is a sport and what is taking place isn't a sport because it doesn't comply with the rules of the sport, and there's clear cheating, and therefore the outcomes associated with that sport aren't valid outcomes, then the governing body's got a responsibility there. You've also got gambling laws. This sport that we're presented with is a sport that people wager money on in gambling, and that also has its laws. Now, if you're gambling on something and it's got fixed outcomes, well, that's in breach of law, isn't it? Oh, now we'll get the lawyers arguing for 3 years over whether we apply law, whether this law is a law, or who is the law responsible to, who is being defrauded by this, who do they have an obligation to? It's all bullshit. So everybody, if you are the global sporting governing body and you are administering and running a sport, and you have what is sold to the world as being the global pinnacle of the sport worldwide, this is the best version of motor car racing in the world, and you should all be attracted to come and watch this and pay your money to watch these events because it's exciting and it's the best thing you'll ever see. That's ultimately what this governing body is there overseeing, being party to. They are clearly a major part in that. It couldn't exist without a governing body. So you can't distance yourself. I mean, you can't claim, oh yeah, we're just different to that. You can't lump us in with all of that. That's somebody else who sells it to people. No, you're still all part of that. Because things don't exist in a vacuum. Okay, everything is multifaceted. And with those multifaceted elements comes with it responsibilities. And those responsibilities are for you to make sure that this sport has got integrity and it is being carried out in accordance with the rules and regulations of that sport. And if there are breaches, that you do the required investigation and you make things right. That is your requirement to do so. Despite what cunts will try and argue otherwise, and despite what cunts will then pretend to the public, oh, the things that we have to consider here is whether or not they have to do so. Yes, yes. We don't know. We don't know, do we? In our tights and fucking ladies' shoes. What a cunt. What a cunt. Anyway, um, anyway, let's go back to the various things we can look at in terms of just simple things here. They must also uphold governance standards. Oh, they wouldn't know anything about that, the FIA, such as transparency and accountability, manage disputes, enforce regulations, and navigate cross border legal issues when operating internationally. So, if you're selling a global sport, it's nothing to do with, oh, well, what's the law in this country? What's the law in that country? Oh, therefore, we can break the law in that country because they don't have that law, but in this country, we can't. No, it's a uniform set of rules that take place, for your sport, and they apply globally. Oh, we can actually allow cheating in this country because that country doesn't punish cheats according to their law. Oh, yes, under their jurisdiction, then that's okay to cheat in that country. No, it doesn't work like that, dickhead. But legally, we'll have to have a 3-year argument over that. See, this is the kind of cunts that you have. No integrity, but they'll take the money for the argument. Responsible for promoting athletes' physical and mental well-being. Oh, so you act by not acting appropriately, you're impacting all of your athletes that are. Oh, so you do have an obligation to them. You do. Oh, is there a contract here between Massa and the FIA? Well, Massa has to have a super license because that's what the FIA dictate. But does holding a super license mean that contract between Massa and the FIA goes both ways? Do the FIA have an obligation to Massa? Oh, we'll have to argue over this for 3 years with our cunt lawyers. Oh, we don't know. We could argue according to this law. In this case, where I quoted back in 1995, this judge, when he was talking about a completely different set of circumstances, felt this. So therefore, it means fuck all. Means fuck all, because we're not talking about that case in that year in a different set of circumstances. We're dealing with this one. But this is how they try and print a fucking document, right? So that you switch off, so that you can't follow it, that they use words that you're not familiar with using, that none of us are, because they're not in general usage. But only the learned will understand. It's a tool of manipulation, operated by cunts for the extraction of money, to gaslight people, to manipulate outcomes. And you've got cunts willing to do that. Zero integrity fuckers. So, failure to uphold these standards could lead to legal liability if an athlete suffers injury due to negligence. Yeah. So that injury can be also financial loss. And who did suffer financial loss? Well, by the FIA failing in its duty, its requirement to oversee its sport in the correct manner, deal appropriately with cheating, sanction the cheats appropriately. People were harmed. Those people that were definitely harmed were those people that suffered due to them not amending the result. Those were Nico Rosberg not being crowned the winner of that race ever. That would have been his first ever Grand Prix victory in his 50th Grand Prix. Rather than have to wait for another 4 years until his 111th Grand Prix to be crowned a race winner, that impacted his entire career earnings, his entire career. 2 drivers in that Drivers' Championship that year finished below Alonso, and they definitely would have finished above Alonso had Alonso been docked the 10 points that he got for victory in that race. That impacted them drivers' careers, that season's earnings for those drivers, as it did Rosberg's season's earnings. At least 6 teams were impacted. Well, all of the teams, all 9 would have, but 6 teams in that Constructors' Championship all finished a place lower than they should have. impacting the amount of prize money those teams would have received, impacting the amount of bonus money each of those employees of each of those teams received. These are the victims of the crime, the victims of the fraud. Which of the learned cunts in the argument, right, have thought about identifying the victims of the situation? The experts. You can go and just Google each of these people. They're all the best you've ever seen. They're all the Max Verstappens of the legal world. Yeah, but they're not really, are they? Because they've not been able to look at the situation, determine the difference between right and wrong, see what the real crime's going on. They can't identify a crime. They can't identify fraud. No, they can't identify who's the impacted parties here in this legal facade. And neither, so far, from what I've read, he can't, certainly, but neither can Cunt Boy here in his fucking tights and his women's shoes. From what I can see so far, and I've not I've not read all of his 224 points of his long ass document yet. I'm down to about 0.80. Doesn't look like Cunt Boy can identify the true victims of the crime here. So what is his qualifications? What's his ability to judge on a situation? No, but he doesn't have any qualifications to judge on the situation. No. But what he can do is he can fucking let the game carry out. He can oversee and enable the game of back and forth, whiff waff. Oh yes, well these people have got this valid argument in law, but on the other hand, these people have this valid argument in law, and it's very complex. And in my determination, it could be this or it could be that, and I will strike out this, but not that. Oh yes, no. Quite simply, Cunt Boy, there's a crime, fraud. Yeah, you've covered up sport cheating. That's a fraud. And as such, there are victims of that fraud. Who are those victims? Well, it wasn't Massa, but there are victims. That's what the case is really about. But our legal experts can't work that out, can they? No, but they will have this argument, okay, and they'll keep it going for as long as they can until the money dries up, and then we'll award it. And somebody will have to pay their legal costs. Yes, and the lawyers will do very well out of it, won't they? And you can tell how intelligent this man is because of all the books behind him. No, he's a cunt. He's a cunt, is what he is. So, like I say, I will go through this document and I will talk about what this cunt says about it. But they don't seem to identify what the problem is here. The gaslighting British justice system, the tool of oppression. The tools of oppression are the policing of everything. Okay, their little army to keep everybody in check according to the rules that they impose on us. But them rules don't apply to them. They're all arguable rules in the law. Okay, depending on how much money you've got and who's going to argue then for you. And how it can be argued, and whether the judge will consider the argument, or whether the judge has got to rely on a different judge's decision of when he absolved somebody or convicted somebody of the same thing. Yes, this is the law, everybody, the tool of manipulation. And also the media, how they inform you about it, what people understand about something. Because if people don't understand what's going on, then you can fuck them over, really, can't you? This is the trouble. This is where it comes down to integrity, isn't it? You know, if you can mislead somebody, if you can fucking make sure that somebody doesn't really understand, you can fuck them over. Yes. What's the legal and ethical decisions we need to consider here? Yes. So we need to be talking about the simplicity of the situation. We don't do that. Now, rather than 224 points, I can just simply summarise that quite simply, Renault cheated when the investigation was done with the allegations that Piquet Jr. said, "You told me to crash." Renault didn't contest that. That's an admission of guilt. Renault cheated, crashing on purpose so that Alonso would have a chance of winning. That's cheating. So, when the governing body got to find out about that in November of 2008, they tried to cover it up. They neglected their duty as a governing body of the sport to ensure that their sport is carried out in accordance with its rules and regulations, and that cheats are dealt with accordingly, because anybody cheating compromises sporting fairness. Now we have to have a look at the words in the regulations. What do they mean? You could, no, fuck off, cunt. Fuck off. These are rules. If you break them, if you try to win by breaking the rules, you are cheating. If you try to win by means that are fucking not fair, you are cheating. We don't need to have a legal argument about that. It means you're a cunt. What did the governing body do? Oh, we'll try and cover that up. We don't want the world to know about that. Why don't we want the world to know about that? Oh, we don't want people to think that we're just a load of cheats. Because if people think we're a load of cheats, then they're just going to brand us a load of cheats, and that will mean we lose value. We tell the world that we're the best you've ever seen. Yeah, we're the best you've ever seen. Formula One, the pinnacle. Yeah, they'll just go, no, it's not really. You're just a bunch of fraudulent cunts. Yeah, so let's hide this from them. No, you're committing fraud by doing that. You're concealing the truth when you've got an obligation to do the right thing. So, you committed fraud. In committing fraud, you are deceiving the people that you've sold the event to, the world's public, that you sell your sport to. Oh, do we sell it, or is it somebody else that sells it? What's our responsibility within? Fuck off. You're all part of the same dynamic. So, you have an obligation. You have an obligation to the sport. You have the obligation to the people who are stakeholders in your sport. Because your sport wouldn't be a sport if there were no stakeholders. You wouldn't have a global series in the manner that it is if it wasn't financially viable, financially lucrative. Just like we don't have the world tour for fucking, I don't know, pick a fucking sport that's not that popular, where you don't get that many people interested in watching it. You don't have a global series where every fortnight you rock up in a certain country and 400,000 people go over a course of a weekend to go and watch it, and it makes fuckloads of money. No, you wouldn't have that if people aren't interested in it. But because you've enticed people to be interested in it, because you've sold it to them, you've got a responsibility to them to ensure that you are overseeing that sport and delivering to them the sport that you've sold them. Yeah, that comes under contract law. Assumed contract, yes. It doesn't have to be signed by people. It's implied. It's what people believe they're seeing. People believe they're supposed to be watching authentic sport, sold to them as a sport, because you fucking sell yourself as sport. Yeah, so you do have an obligation. But we'll get cunt boys here that will, well, do they have that obligation? Yes. And he's a judge. He's a judge. And this is the bullshit system. This is the bullshit system. So you do have an obligation to do that, and you didn't do it. And you covered it up. You perpetrated a fraud to protect your financial interests. So as a result of covering up a fraud, you perpetrated a fraud yourself, and that gave you financial benefit. You claim you're non-for-profit, but you made a profit of 4 point something million last year. That doesn't add up, does it? But the legal barristers will present it one way. You'll see that when I do the report. Yeah, you gain financially. Formula One as a brand continue to gain and grow money. Would it have done that if you'd have told the truth? By lying to people, by misleading people, you've accrued money by false pretenses, really, because that's under the facade of the sport having integrity when it didn't. And then there were harm parties because you didn't do the right thing, because you didn't disqualify the cheats, you didn't treat the cheats as you should have done, disqualify the relevant parties, amend the sporting classification. Then people missed out. That harmed them. Now, depending on the time in which you knew about this, as to what you could have done, you could potentially have prevented a man from receiving death threats. Yeah, that's harm. And you've got a legal liability if an athlete suffers injury, and that can include the harm, the emotional stress to him and his family of your negligence. Now, we don't know exactly when it was that Charlie Whiting, Max Mosley, and Bernie Ecclestone were informed, whether it was actually before the Brazilian event and what they could have done about it beforehand. They could have definitely done something in the aftermath, though, and they didn't. But the lawyers are now seeking to absolve them of consequence for that. And Massa's lawyer wants to argue for Massa being the one that's impacted of that, and Massa wasn't the one that was impacted. Because the outcome they're now trying to seek for Massa is, oh, we'll just cancel Singapore. No, that's not what you do. Because Singapore, the actual event, you have to treat the event as being authentic and respond to it with the measures that you have if it were authentic. And those measures are safety concern, deploy the safety car. Here we now enact the protocols, which is what they did. It wasn't anything that the FIA did there that disadvantaged Massa. That was how you would deal with such a situation. That unfolded, teams did what they did, the race continued, sporting fairness to all those competitors were not compromised, other than the fact that Alonso gained an artificial benefit relative to everybody else, hence is why you disqualify him. That then restores sporting fairness to everybody else in that race. Due to that set of circumstances, it could have happened organically, because had it been any car that would have crashed at that point in time, that could have happened organically. That's just the way it is. We had a car stop on track. Would that have caused a safety car? Why did it stop on track? We don't know. Did it run out of fuel? Was it a malfunction with the car? If that would have been the thing that caused the safety car, then what? Oh, Massa's fuel rig got stuck. Oh, we want to cancel the race now, because if we cancel that race, then Massa becomes world champion. Can we find another race that season where there was a safety car for whatever reason? It doesn't matter. And Massa won that race. Oh, we'll cancel that race, because if we get rid of Massa's points there, then Hamilton. No, you don't do that. You don't do that. But the lawyers don't understand, or they don't want to understand. They'll just create an argument for whoever's paying them. British legal. So, link. For those of you who are interested, here is the court document. You'll see the link to it in the description box. And for those of you that haven't got the time, haven't got the inclination to read the bullshit, I will do a series of videos breaking it down, exposing just what a load of bullshit it is. This is the system that impacts every single one of us. Something happens in your life, okay? This is the system that you are beholden to, okay? It's not about justice, okay? These cunts that are operatives of the system don't really care about justice. They care about, oh, how much money is in it for me if I create an argument one way or another? Who's paying me to argue? Well, I'll just make an argument for them. That's not justice. And then we get Mr. Justice, cunt boy in his fucking tights here and girl shoes, and we're gonna cape. That he doesn't know. It's all a bit of a it's a balancing act to understand what takes precedent here. What is right and what's wrong here? Yes, culturally, we have to understand. We're not quite sure. And in my assessment, no, you're a cunt, mate. You're a cunt. But this is the British legal system. Unqualified fucking judges manipulating outcomes. I've dealt with 6 of these cunts so far. And how do you overcome them? Oh, you've got to ask them to see if they'll hold themselves to account. Yeah, that's going to work well, isn't it? So until we get legal reform, we're not going to get justice in this country. Everybody needs to understand. So wank boys that really, those of you that really like Max Verstappen, those of you that come here because you like Max and you click a thumbs down in the video, something happened in your life that was an injustice. You will find you become yourself a victim of this system, and that could be quite severe, the consequences of such. But you can carry on really liking Max Verstappen. This is far bigger than Max Verstappen, kids. It's about life. This is about the system that we live in. This is about bullshit. This is about cunts. This is about manipulators. This is about injustice. This is about the mind conditioning media lying to us. This is about gaslighting cunts, trying to tell us that everything's so complex and only the most intelligent of you can understand. It's all about narrative, protecting the perpetrators. Anyway, that'll do on this one. Thank you for your time.